To understand supply chains, manufacturing, the relationship that China has with the US and with the rest of the world, you need to read Uncommon Wealth by Koshokoram, because he connects in this book the idea of imperial boomerang with the end of the process of Neo-Colonialism. And by the way, it was not Foucault, it was Aimé Césaire who created the concept of imperial boomerang. Let's take a couple of steps back. The process of offshoring started off in the 1960s, and it proceeded on par with the process of decolonization. Because you had these vast areas of the world that were controlled by Britain, by Spain, by the Netherlands, by Portugal, by France, that all of a sudden became independent and were able to figure out what to do with their natural resources. But because they had been just spokes on a wheel of empire, serving only the needs of the metropolis, didn't have industrial strategies and needed to industrialize themselves to become independent. In comes the Western world, who was trying to find ways to be able to lower the cost of their production. It started slow in the 1960s and the 1970s, but it picked up in the 1980s and 1990s. A good example of that was General Electric under Jack Welch, that was able to start offshoring to Vietnam, to China, to Mexico, but it really skyrocketed in the 2000s when China joined the World Trade Organization. The reason for the offshoring wasn't benign, and it also wasn't pretty. Countries in which the offshoring happened were, in the beginning, pretty helpless when it came to the demands of the multi-billion-dollar corporations that chose their countries as a haven for manufacturing. These incredibly influential corporations, specifically American ones, but also European ones, that leveraged also on the support that they received from their own states, bargained down both protections for employees and environmental protections. This is the reason why countries like Bangladesh and countries like China have such a bad reputation when it comes to pollution and when it comes to working conditions. The negotiations of these contracts were completely asymmetrical, the companies having the majority of the power. This was a part of a process of neo-colonization. Get to the point, Elio. I'm getting there. But what happened as well, that at the same time that these countries developed the skills to be able to do that sort of work, Western economies decided to move to services, while maintaining a gigantic welfare apparatus that protected their citizens. But the industrial developments of countries like China and countries like Bangladesh, for instance, created enough conditions for these countries to start asking for better treatment, better salaries. And that, and more workers' rights in these countries, cut into the profits of these corporations. Because these elites can't exploit the people outside of these countries with the same ease that they did before, they're now looking at the process of onshoring. But to be able to do so, they have to obliterate all of the benefits from the welfare states and from the laws when it comes to employment that protect their own working people. They can't colonize others, they'll have to colonize us.